Hello everyone, welcome to another installment of Radio Free Decipher. This is Evan coming to you from Norfolk with Kyle mocking me right next door.
You know, we're coming from Norfolk, Virginia.
That's right.
I'm surprised people don't know that by now.
This is true.
You know, folks, just a helpful reminder. From now on, we're always going to be coming from Norfolk.
Unless we're not.
Oh, that's right, you know, because we do things out on the road. And, you know, I take it all back. See, it's a Friday, and I'm looking forward to the weekend, and I'm on the road right now, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, you're actually going down to Florida.
That's right. Today.
Yeah, it's kind of, this is the miracle of
Radio Free Decipher.
Yes, which is oftentimes recorded on a Thursday, but not broadcast until Friday.
That's right.
And this is one of those times, so you're getting a little bit of we're peeling the onion, as it were, and you get to see the inner workings.
That's right. I'm actually headed to probably Florida as you're listening to this.
Yes.
I'm in a car driving with Joe Allred.
How's the drive?
The drive's going good.
Good.
You know, we've been able to switch on and off with each other, so that's, you know, no speeding tickets so far, so that's good.
What are you up to about, like, episode 7 of the BBC Lord of the Rings by now?
That's right. We're going to be listening to the radio edition, BBC radio edition of the Lord of the Rings all day today on the way down there. So,
cool.
And it's good. It's going good so far.
All right.
No, not been caught in any speed traps yet.
Good deal.
Excellent.
We watched Enterprise this week.
That's right. We had a big party over at Joe Allred's house on his big 52-inch TV with surround sound.
It was very fun. You enjoyed it, I gather.
I did. I really did enjoy it. I thought it was a brilliant start for the series.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing where they go next.
Mm-hmm. I thought the Suliban were a very interesting foe. But it was good. It was really good.
Hopefully those of you in the U.S. caught it. Those of you abroad who may have to wait a little while until your local affiliates pick it up, I'm very sorry.
It felt very fresh to me.
Mm-hmm.
It felt very fresh with just a sprinkle of Trek, which I liked.
Yep. I enjoy it too.
Good. It's a good stuff. I don't want to spoil anything for those of you that haven't seen it, so
make the effort to do so if you can.
Absolutely. So, speaking of Trek, coming up just a little bit later in the show today, we're going to have an interview with Steve Long, who is going to be working. He is actually, when we called him a little earlier, he said that he is finishing up writing some blah 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 techie tech manual for Star Trek.
We'll have to get the details from him.
That's right,
man,
and
you do them such justice.
That's right, and he also is basically writing the rules for the Lord of the Rings RPG, writing the core rule book and stuff. So it's really good.
So those of you who are fans in waiting for our upcoming RPGs, this is going to be a good interview for you to listen to. Before we get to that, though, Kyle has spoilers.
Oh, man, I have some good spoilers today. I have 2.5 spoilers today.
Okay.
One light side, one dark side, and half a dark side.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And actually, before we get to those, for those of you who are asking, and I've seen this on the BBS every week when we do spoilers, people are asking, why aren't there Trek spoilers? Holodeck Adventures has not gone through approvals yet.
Correct.
Straight up. So there's your reason. So there's nothing yet to be spoiled because there's nothing yet that's received the final thumbs up from Paramount. So sorry, but you're just going to have to be patient and enjoy the new cards that you got just less than a week ago, or roughly a week ago.
Lame excuse, man.
Whatever.
No, just kidding. Just kidding. All right.
Let's hear these special spoilers.
All right. Now, of course, this is from Reflections 3.
Yes.
Some of the new premium cards that are going to be in here.
Now, you've actually brought sheets this time.
Yeah, can you hear them?
Uh-huh. And can you see the vivid color?
It's good. It's vivid.
Wonderful.
All right, I have a location, actually, for the light side. Normally, you wouldn't think it's much of a deal, but this
some of the locations that recently have been very interesting.
I think this location, this site, actually, is going to be the biggest, baddest battleground that we have ever seen.
It must be the reactor.
No, it's not.
No?
It's close. It's the Feed Palace Generator Core.
I'm sorry, I forgot the name. The Generator
Core.
Okay.
For the light side. Let's see. We'll read the light side text first since it's a light side card.
Okay.
3 force icons.
That's handy.
Yes, it is. It says characters of ability less than 5 hit here are placed with all cards on them in owner's used pile.
Wow.
and that's the game text exactly for both sides.
Okay.
So, but the light side has 3 force icons, and the dark side has 2.
Okay.
That's a lot of force. That's the most force icons I think we've ever put on a card.
That's very cool.
That's a whole bunch. So, my opinion is that it will become the new standard in Battleground. On battles on the ground. So
we'll find out.
It's a lot of force.
Okay.
Now, the first of the dark side cards, the one that I'm going to spoil completely, is actually called Stormtrooper Garrison. Destiny 4, it's an Imperial, of course.
Is that an effect or an interrupt?
It's actually a character.
A character?
It's a character, believe it. It's Imperial. It's like a whole gaggle of Stormtroopers. Is that the correct term, gaggle of Stormtroopers?
Maybe.
Squad, maybe. But anyways, the flavor text is the Imperial Navy's ruthless shock troops. The distinctive white armor of the Stormtroopers is recognized throughout the galaxy as a feared occupational force.
Okay.
Bum, bum, bum. Power 8.
Okay.
Stormtroopers at Power 8.
That's pretty nice.
Pretty strong. Ability 1. Armor 3. They got some armor, though. Armor 3, so that's pretty cool. Deploy 6, forfeit 4. Imperial leaders present may not be targeted by weapons.
Ooh.
Pretty cool. While with an Imperial leader, adds 1 battle destiny.
Okay.
Pretty cool. While at an opponent's site, force drain +1 here, or +2 if also a rebel base. At the end of your turn, then all those funky little symbols happen. Star, use 1, and down arrow, lose 1, or skull and crossbones.
Okay.
All that fun stuff, which I don't believe has been revealed. I think we're going to have to get Juz on here next week to explain to everybody what all that means.
Yes.
I think that's what we're going to have to do.
Well, you can work on it.
So that is what Stormtrooper Garrison is all about.
All right.
So, and now you want the last half.
Is this the half card?
Half a spoiler.
Okay. Why is it half a spoiler?
It's half a spoiler because I don't want to give away the game text, but I want to give away the card title and something fun about it.
Okay.
All right. The card is actually called Maul's Double-Bladed Lightsaber. and let me just say that those of you that are fans of the Executor will like this card.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
All right. I think people shouldn't have too much trouble piecing what that together.
Yeah,
what
I don't
that
think
means.
so either. Pretty cool stuff.
All right. So, more cool stuff. Let's turn on to our interview
with Mr. Steve Long.
Yeah, I'm going to let you take over here.
All right.
And get him on the line.
All right. All right. Now we have Steve Long on the phone. How you doing, Steve?
Pretty good. How you doing, Kyle?
I am very good, sir. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing for us here at Decipher?
Sure. Well, I'm part of the RPG studio. I myself live in North Carolina, mid-30s. I've been working in the game industry for full-time for 4 years and part-time for another 4 or 5 years before that.
You enjoy long walks on the beach and love songs?
Yeah, and my pet peeves are, mean people and rainy days and things like that.
Brilliant. So tell us about what you've been working on.
Sure. Well, I've been working on 2 projects, well, 3, I guess, mainly for Decipher. The first 2 are the 2 core books for our Star Trek role-playing game, which are the Player's Guide and the Narrator's Guide. I wrote several sections of the Player's Guide, and I not only wrote some parts of the Narrator's Guide, but am the project leader or developer for that. And then the second, of course, is the Lord of the Rings role-playing game, for which I am principal writer and project leader. So all that gives me plenty to do and keeps me off the streets.
So we just had a big Trek event. Tell us about it.
That would be the premiere of Enterprise, the Star Trek series that stars Scott Bakula as Captain Archer on a ship set in 2151, I believe, if my memory is serving me correctly.
Are we going to see any of that stuff in the role-playing game upcoming?
Not initially, because we're set to release that game in another couple of months, and we simply didn't have the materials because Paramount itself hadn't locked down exactly what they wanted to do with the series.
Sure, but are you planning on eventually incorporating that in?
Oh, absolutely. As soon as we get a couple years down the road and we have a little bit more material to work with, we're definitely going to try to cover everything in that series. And of course, as time goes on and we come out with projects that are geared towards subjects that Enterprise has touched on, we'll definitely cover them. For example, in our forthcoming Klingons book, I'm sure we'll be mentioning that the Klingons crash land on Earth in 2151, and that leads to a first contact situation, led by Captain Archer.
Sure. What do you think of the new villain?
Well, so far, the show in general leaves me pretty optimistic. I liked what I saw. I'm hoping they're going to expand a little bit and not concentrate solely on this new species of Suliban as the main villains. Either that or make them a little bit more, give us a little bit more dimension for them.
Sure.
But I think the show has a lot of potential. I'm looking forward to seeing future episodes and finding out what they do.
Well, let's talk a little Lord of the Rings. How about that?
Sure.
You have quite the background with the Tolkien universe, don't you?
Yeah, well, I've been a big fan of Tolkien's works for 20-some years now. I first read the trilogy when I was in junior high, I guess, which is, dating myself a little, I suppose. And I've just been in love with them ever since.
And how has that led you to where you're at now?
Well, it was my interest in science fiction and fantasy that first got me, involved in gaming back when Dungeons & Dragons first came out in the late 70s or early 80s, or I guess I could say not when it came out, but when I first discovered it. And it was, the love of the fantasy world, such as Middle-earth, that got me into that. And the more I played role-playing games, the more creative I got with them, and eventually it reached the point where I was good enough that I could write things and submit them and get paid for them.
Great. And then you eventually wound up working with, correct me if I'm wrong, with Last Unicorn?
Sure. I worked as a part-time freelancer for several years, for 4 or 5 years, beginning in 1992. And at that time I was practicing law as an attorney and just writing game stuff in the weekends, in the evenings, just for fun. Then in 1997, I decided to try to make a go of it full-time because I was enjoying the game writing work a lot more. As they say, a bad day gaming beats a good day at work. Mm-hmm. So I got into full-time as a freelancer and managed to succeed and made some money. And then a year or so after that, I had begun working fairly closely with Last Unicorn, and I became one of their primary writers. And then eventually, about 2.5 years ago, I was made the Deep Space Nine role-playing game line developer.
So you've been working on the Star Trek property for quite some time now.
Yes, I sure have. I guess beginning in 97 or 98. The years have all become a blur. So yeah, first starting with Last Unicorn, as I was one of the designers that helped create their system and produce their early books, and I think with just 2 or 3 exceptions, I wrote at least part of all of the books that Last Unicorn published. So the chance to work on Decipher's role-playing game is both a chance to stay involved with a subject that is near and dear to my heart, and a chance to sort of redo things a little bit, working in new information that we've had since Last Unicorn's books were published.
I think it'd be interesting to get you and Evan in the same room, because both of you probably know more about Star Trek than any man or woman should.
Well, I don't know about that. I certainly I sometimes describe myself as a professional Star Trek geek. People ask me what I do, and they say, what is that? And it means I'm paid to know what Captain Kirk was doing in 2267 and how many phasers there are on the Enterprise D. Well,
I doubt if Evan would ever describe himself as that, but it's for sure that's what he is.
It's a good way to make a living. As I sometimes tell people these days, I'm paid to watch Star Trek and read Tolkien. What kind of a life do I have?
Yeah. So expand a little bit more on Tolkien now. Tell us a little bit about the game, the role-playing game that you're working on and developing, and give us all a good look at it.
Sure. Well, the game right now is about half done with the first draft writing. It uses a rule system that we in the RPG studio have developed called the Coda system, which is also used for the Star Trek games, though, of course, with the necessary changes.
Sure.
In Star Trek, you need starship rules, and in Middle-earth, you need magic and rules for overland travel.
Right. So Gandalf's not going to be shooting a proton torpedo out of his staff now, is he?
Not if I have anything to say about it, no. So the rule system is a fairly simple and straightforward yet flexible target number system in which you roll 2 6-sided dice, add your ranks in whatever skill you're using, and a modifier from your attribute, such as strength or vitality or intellect, and any other modifiers, and then you compare that to a target number. If you meet or beat the target number, you've succeeded. We've worked in a degree of success system where the more you beat the target number by, the better your degree of success. So in combat, you do more damage. In non-combat situations, you might complete the task more quickly or in a more impressive manner or something like that. So between that and the many other elements we've worked in, I think we've created a system that is easy and flexible, for people to learn. I can, show you the basics of the system in a minute, and yet it's adaptable to the wide variety of situations you're going to find in a Star Trek or a Lord of the Rings game, either one. So I think that both hardcore gamers and Tolkien fans who aren't necessarily gamers or who maybe have never been exposed to gaming are really going to enjoy it. The book opens up with a section on the history and geography of Middle-earth. Those two chapters are being written by John Ratliff, who used to work with Wizards of the Coast and is an internationally recognized Tolkien scholar whose name you'll find mentioned in the History of Middle-earth series and places like that. So I'm sure that he's going to do a bang-up job with those two chapters and, really condense and summarize what people need to know about Middle-earth. And, of course, they can always turn to the novels and many other reference books to find out more, but this way they have everything they need right in one book when they're playing the game. After that, we go on to a large section of chapters that cover character creation. Character creation in this game starts pretty simply with, first you determine your attributes. There are 6 attributes: bearing, nimbleness, perception, strength, vitality, and wit, if I'm remembering them all correctly. And you can either roll those randomly using 2d6, or you can use a point allocation system to assign them the way you want them to be. Then you calculate a few secondary attributes, such as reactions and courage points and your health level, and that section's pretty much done. Next, you choose a race. You've got four basic races: dwarves, elves, halflings, and humans. But for elves, halflings, and humans, you choose one of several sub-races. As a halfling, you can play a Fallowhide or a Harfoot or a Stoor, for example. Each of the races of the sub-races has specific abilities and attribute modifiers that go along with it. So dwarves have certain abilities related to their toughness and sturdiness. Elves have a whole list of abilities relating to their quasi-magical nature and the many things that we see them doing in the books. Humans have 2 or 3 different abilities. So each race is set off and made unique and distinctive and a viable and intriguing option for play.
Can I, as a player, be a bad guy? Can I play an orc or whatever?
No, the game in its basic incarnation at least doesn't allow for that. We're not trying to design a general fantasy game here that could be used for any setting or any time period. We're trying to design a game that is very specifically about role-playing in Middle-earth, in Tolkien's world. Mm-hmm. And in Tolkien's world, there are no orc player characters. The orcs are all bad guys. Mm-hmm. Certainly there's nothing stopping any gamer who wants to from coming up with his own rules for running an orc character, or for a narrator who wants to run a game in which the players all take the part of the Servants of the Shadow. Mm-hmm. But we're not encouraging that or providing any rules for it.
It sounds good, though. It sounds really, really cool. Steve, you're going to have to come here to the office and host a game for us one night here.
Oh, no, I'd love to. In fact, I think I'm slated to come up for Decipher Con in another couple of months and probably run some demos there. By then, hopefully the rest of the game will be written. At this point, all the rules stuff, for the most part, is taken care of. The one big gap we have is the magic chapter, which, as the most complex and crucial of the player character chapters, sort of has to wait until last.
Yeah, I've heard you talk about this before, and it's really intriguing.
As I said, we're trying to design a game that simulates a specific setting, Middle-earth, and a specific feel, the sort of feel that Tolkien puts into his world. We're not designing a general fantasy game like, for example, Dungeons & Dragons. The magic in Middle-earth is one of the key components that gives the world its atmosphere and its feel and sort of explains the way the world works. And we're coming up with rules and systems that mesh with that follow that, as a guideline. You're not going to be able in the Lord of the Rings role-playing game to cast a fireball or fly through the air or teleport across the world or walk through walls or any of those other things that are very common in most fantasy games, because those aren't the sort of things that magic in Middle-earth does. In Middle-earth, magic is It's very subtle, it's flavorful, it's evocative. It's governed by its own rules. And the system we're coming up with is designed to follow that. Now, by the same token, that's not to say that it's really limited at all. I have a 5-page long list of spells and magical effects that characters use throughout Tolkien's works. There's a whole lot of things they can do. They just don't tend to be as flashy and overt and war game oriented as the spells in most role-playing games are. And I think that players who read through that and who are interested in playing a magician or a character who uses magic at all are going to find that it's very intriguing and gives them a lot of ideas for characters and a lot of things that they can do in a properly designed Lord of the Rings role-playing game scenario. They're not going to be able to go around blasting orcs left, right, and center, but that's not what they do. Gandalf doesn't go around doing that all the time.
Well, it sounds really good. And I can't wait. Now, what's the target date again for this?
Right now, it's slated for release in February of 2002.
Okay. And the adventure game comes out?
The adventure game, I believe, is still slated for November or December. That's a much more limited form of the role-playing game using roughly the same rules, but in a more restricted format. It's designed to be played by just about anybody, I think from ages 12 and up is what the packaging text says. And in it, you play one of the 9 members of the Fellowship of the Ring. We have character sheets for them using basic game statistics, and then you take them through an adventure in the Mines of Moria, which in and of itself is a lot of fun. You get to see if you can make it past the orcs, and can you fight the Balrog, or can you get away from him. And there are a few other surprises and interesting things that we've put in there. If things don't work out for you and the Fellowship ends up getting stymied or killed, we have a mechanism in there for you to start the game over again the same way you would with a computer game, so that you can try again and make sure that you don't make the same mistakes this time. Right. I think it's going to be a great intro for people who maybe are not experienced role-playing gamers to pick it up and try it out and see if they like it, and then if they do, they can segue right into the full-fledged role-playing game with very little difficulty.
Good. Well, it sounds great. And I don't think that the game could be in better hands, Steve.
Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to seeing how what people think of it. It's just a real labor of love.
Well, thanks so much for spending some time with our listeners today, and I guess maybe we should let you get back to work, man. It sounds like you got a lot going on.
Yeah, there's plenty left to be done.
All right, Steve. Well, thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right, well, I think that's going to be doing it for today. Good RFD. That was a great interview.
Yes, he's got a lot of info that I think is going to be coming to people for the first time.
That's right. And, man, Evan, I still think you're the champ, man. I still think you know more about Star Trek than anyone.
Well, I got to go back upstairs and take my job, doing professional Star Trek geeky things.
Okay. All right. Well, have a good weekend, everybody. And if you're in the Tampa, Florida area this weekend, try and find me this Saturday, because I'll be there teaching people how to play Lord of the Rings and talking with everyone. So
where will you be?
That's a good question. I'm not really sure. Other people have planned it out for me. So
wow.
Try and get in touch with the local volunteers there, Rob Simsler, stuff like that, and they should give you the information on where I'll be.
Okay, cool.
All right.
Then, everybody, have a good weekend.
Bye.